love about Toy Story? A super wholesome movie about a kid and his toys? Well, some say there might be a little bit more than meets the eye to this nostalgic series. It doesn't take long to find some dark and pretty scary theories that might just have you feeling like they ruined your childhood. These are the top 10 terrifying Toy Story theories you need to pray aren't real. Coming in at number 10, we have the same face theory. Have you ever really looked at the faces of the children in Toy Story? It doesn't take too much sleuthing to see that there's pretty much no difference between the faces of any child in that movie. I mean, seriously, it's creepy. Back in 2017, The Sun came out with a striking theory stating that Andy, the main character of the beloved film series, seems to have the same exact face as all his friends. But the theory doesn't just stop there. Upon a deeper dive, they even noticed Sid, the movie's rough around the edges bully, is also identical to the other children in the film. I mean, how did we not notice this when it came out? Some chalk it up to the fact that it's just early CGI, or simply that they didn't think people would pay too close attention to the background characters and therefore didn't really put too much effort into the defining characteristics. But all in all, you can't deny it's super weird to have a bunch of clone children running around the town with no adult in sight, seeming to care or notice at all. Next up, coming in at number 9, is Wheezy the villain of Toy Story 2? We all love Wheezy. How could you not love an adorable singing penguin? He couldn't hurt a fly, you'd think. Well, one Reddit user, The Circle of Knife, has reason to believe otherwise. They explain that even though Wheezy wasn't in the original Toy Story film, in Toy Story 2 it's mentioned that he'd been up on the shelf for months. This means that Wheezy was only played with for a few months before his squeaker broke and he was sent to the dusty shelves. The user continues that Wheezy would have been watching Andy play with all the other toys and brooding in jealousy for the life he once had, unable to speak or intervene in any way. The theory continues, stating it's Wheezy who discovers the yard sale, frightening all the other toys and hoping that Woody's heroic nature would try to save Wheezy and probably end up getting sold instead. While there are a few plot holes here, it's an interesting theory to imagine that adorable little singing penguin as a maniacal plotting villain, but I'm not sure it totally pans out. Coming in at number 8, the toys don't come alive until played with. A pretty popular theory among Reddit users. Some believe that the toys only become alive once played with. One Redditor explains, quote, "I think that the toys don't come alive until they're physically handled by an owner. After that, they are aware but take on the persona of how they were made." The Reddit user Mr. Nostalgia continues to say, quote, "Buzz is a space ranger doll, thus he believed he was a space ranger. Forky being made from the scraps and the trash, thus he thought he was trash." This theory could explain why all the Buzzes believe they were in hypersleep, or why Woody wouldn't remember anything about his existence prior to Andy. Next up at number 7, Andy's dad is dead? While at first this series seems pretty dark, looking back at the Disney canon, it's not actually too far-fetched. We see Andy's mother, his sister, and even a dog in the movie, but many have pointed out, where's his dad? The most popular online explanation for Andy's dad's absence comes from an alleged story told to consultant Mike Mozart by one of the original movie writers, Joe Ranft. According to the tale, in an early draft of the script, there was a backstory where Andy's dad had polio as a child and left Woody to his infant son after he died. One Reddit user, Just a Typical Ginger, outlined the fact that they think this theory is true due to the kind of toys Andy gravitates to. Quote, "Andy has clearly attached himself to Woody and Buzz. In all of the play scenes, they are clearly strong adult male figures. One could almost call them fatherly." While there is no real proof to back this story up, it certainly would answer a lot of questions, but sadly I suppose we'll never know if he's in the CIA or sadly long gone. Next up at number 6 is the theory that Jessie belonged to Andy's mom. In this Toy Story 2 we get to meet Jessie, the cowgirl. She's one of the latter backstories as we learn that she was neglected by her owner Emily, thus tainting her relationship to future owners. But what if she wasn't a brand new addition to the family? What if she was once Andy's mom's beloved toy? Theorized one Reddit user, Beryllium Extract. They go on to explain that while we get only one short glimpse of Emily, she looks quite similar to that of the mother character, and that Andy's old red hat looks just like a larger version of Jessie's. We know Emily was supposed to have a matching hat to Jessie's. Could it be the same one? A hand-me-down situation perhaps? The saddest part of this theory is that Jessie doesn't recognize Emily all grown up, so she still believes she was abandoned by her. And even sadder is that Andy's mom, the alleged Emily, just didn't even have a deep connection with Jessie like that of Andy to Woody, and simply sees her as just another old toy. Coming in at number 5, Mr. Potato Head is not a singular entity. At first, you probably don't think too hard about Mr. Potato Head's seemingly never-ending stream of body parts falling off of him. But fans have pointed out if you start to question it, it gets a little weird. Upon closer inspection, fans have pointed out that it appears like all his body parts keep moving despite their detachment. And to make matters worse, it seems like he can feel the removed body parts, even when they get far away. One Reddit user, Primetime22, theorizes that Mr. Potato is not a single personality, but is actually multiple appendages being led by the mouth. They point out, quote, his appendages all move by themselves while his body is just a means for them to work together. But this raises an even bigger question, like, where's his brain? The user continues to theorize that all his body parts move and think independently, but that his mouth is like the sergeant, barking orders to the group. Certainly an interesting theory, and you know, it might not be the worst thing in the world to live in a hive mind. Next up at our number 4 spot, Toy Story 3 is about the Illuminati? One of the more ludicrous conspiracies I came across on Reddit about the Toy Story universe was the theory that Toy Story 3 contains symbolism connected to the Illuminati. Yes, you heard that right. The hard hitter of this theory relies on Lotso Huggin Bear, who plays the maniacal villain of the film. In the movie, Lotso is seen switching Buzz Lightyear's settings from play to demo, thus causing some Reddit users to think that he was brainwashing Lightyear to help spy for him, a behavior that is attributed to the Illuminati. But the theory doesn't stop there, with other fans pointing out the dialogue spoken by the Ken doll in reference to Lotso, quote, he's made us into a pyramid and he puts himself on top. Well, it's certainly an interesting theory for a toy to say, but has many claiming it's a metaphor for the image commonly associated with the conspiracy. Next up, coming in at number 3, we have a pretty dark one, the toy corpse theory. Now, this one kind of cancels out the previous theory, stating that toys aren't alive until played with by a child, but this dark theory was first posted by a Twitter user at Digby3 saying, quote, my daughter just ruined Toy Story forever. She said if one of the toys died, Andy wouldn't know, and he'd carry on playing with its corpse. I know, super creepy. But let's think about it for a minute. If Andy doesn't know that his toys come alive when he leaves the room, logically, he would have no clue they could die. So technically speaking, yeah, he could totally just be playing with dead toys unknowingly, but do you think all the other toys would really just sit around and watch as their dead friend was being flung around the room? Some fans aren't so sure, as they pointed out that the toys would probably either bury or at least hide the toy, as to not have to watch, or worse, play with their dead friends. Next up at number 2, this one could potentially ruin your childhood. All the toys are secretly vampires? Okay, stay with me. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what we're here for. Toy Story 4 director Josh Cooley can't take credit for this one, but when asked about if the toys were immortal, he told Digital Spy, quote, I heard somebody say the toys are vampires and instead of blood, they live off the joy of children. Okay, back up. Does this mean that the toys are actually draining children of their joy? When you start to think about it, there are a few points that make sense. Sid, for example, he was so mean to all of the toys, turning them into Frankensteins and monsters. What if he wasn't the bully all this time? What if it was because he knew the truth and he was trying to punish them for stealing his joy from him? While far-fetched, it wouldn't be the most insane theory the internet has conjured about the Toy Story franchise. Which brings us to our final number 1 spot. That Toy Story 3 is a metaphor for... Now I won't lie, this definitely takes the cake for most terrifying theory and certainly seems like an insane comparison to make to me, considering it's one of the worst occur in human history. The theorists state that Woody has a speech that seems to parallel that of survival, and others point out that Buzz Lightyear's suggestion that they hide in the attic to avoid being donated evokes the Anne Frank story. And lastly, they draw a likeness to the toys being sent to Sunnyside Daycare, representing people being sent off to during World War II, where nearly every toy meets its demise by being incinerated. Now, for me, I don't know, this one seems like it's just a bit too far-fetched, so I'll definitely be praying that this one is not real. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.